Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Pretty Passionate Podcast, your favorite group chat to talk about all things beauty, pop culture, and entertainment. I have done some tooling with our format because the goal is always ever better, right? So I think because we talk about a variety of topics, that can make for maybe a choppy listening experience within one episode and a choppy speaking experience for me too, kind of bouncing around from topic to topic. And I also think that trying to squeeze everything in, even in the mega episodes that I've been doing, is somewhat limiting when it comes down to me trying to edit the podcast down to about an hour or so. I mean, I am one who enjoys an extreme long form podcast, but I know that for some, it's not our thing. We want to maybe little smaller bite size. So I'm not saying they're going to be short because I am a yapper, but the point is that one of the things I want to do moving forward is actually split my podcast, not just segments, but I want to do entire episodes focused on the things that I want to talk about. So we're going to have, let's say today, we're going to have our episode focus on reality TV because I think that's kind of a thing in and of itself. And then we're also going to have episodes that are just focused on beauty and pop culture. So think anything that is buzzworthy in the world of beauty, makeup, etc. And also just fun pop culture stuff, not heavy, not depressing celebrity stuff, and even what's fun and happening on TikTok or Instagram or threads that I want to discuss with you. And then the third thing is going to be like scripted TV and movie recaps and reviews. So, of course, the title will give away what each episode is going to be like. And what that means is for a little bit while I tinker with this format and figure it out, the tempo of episodes might actually increase, at least for a little while, because they're shorter. And I'm hoping that the shorter, tighter episodes in terms of topic makes the editing process a lot easier and faster for me to turn around so that we can keep this thing going consistently because consistency is key to success. And, my Capricorn spirit is always driven toward trying to figure out how to do things better. So there you have it. And so, with that brief introduction, we'll get started with today's episode. So, I hope you guys are having a great week. I am in Palm Beach working, and I got here Sunday night. So, it's been a great week so far. Not crazy, wonderful weather. What's to complain about? The shows that we're going to be covering today are Love Island, because that premiered a week ago. It's hard to say that because they dropped so many episodes, but I think they're up to like episode 6 or something. And so that came out last week. We're going to cover Rhode Island Housewives because that's my favorite Housewives franchise right now. It's so ridiculous and fun. We're going to talk about the Summer House Reunion parts 1 and 2. I think, yeah, today's Tuesday. So part 3 is airing actually tonight. And so I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. It's not none of this stuff is appointment TV for me in my life, the way my schedule is set up. So I rely heavily on Peacock for all of these things, my Peacock premium subscription. So, all right. Speaking of Love Island, it's so funny because, Love Island is not what I would consider my age group of television typically, right? Like I'm in my 40s. These people could biologically be my kids, but I think as with a lot of reality TV that I watch, it's all about the sociology of it, the anthropology part of it for me. I'm always fascinated by human behavior, how people act in certain settings, how they respond, especially people who are not accustomed to having the cameras around. So they haven't learned to rehearse their behavior as much. So we're getting kind of the realness of that person. I do enjoy shows like that. So normally, I don't like the dating shows. Like I tried Perfect Match on Netflix. It just wasn't my thing. I think what came of it for me with Perfect Match is the gamesmanship of the show to me overshadowed any romantic connections like 100%. There was no one couple in the season that I watched, and this was like a couple of years ago. There was no one couple in the season that I watched that I thought was genuine, had a real connection or anything. I think Harry Jowsey was on the season that I watched, so maybe that explains a lot. But anyway, on Love Island, I've never watched it before. My best friend convinced me to watch it. I just feel like the connections are seemingly more genuine, or maybe because of the whole Nick and Olandria of it all, I've been more willing to give it a shot because I can see that in real time we've got a real couple that's cute and that seems like they had a shot of making it. I think it's just overall Love Island seems like the couples that come out of there are not just for camera and are not just for the prize money. Whereas I felt like on Perfect Match, a lot of the decisions they were making, the desperation to couple up, was more so about winning the game than actually having connections. And I'll explain more on that perspective in a minute. So let's talk about these people. The cast photo that was released for Love Island, actually, you see there's one person up here. I think her name is Vasana. She was cut out of the cast or cut out of the whole show, I think sometime shortly before the season began to air. And I didn't do any research as to why. I just was looking at the cast group, the group photo of the main people who showed up in the first few episodes and wondering who this person was. Also, not pictured here is one of the female bombshells. Her name is Kata. She's half Haitian. Woo! So I think she's from Boston. Oh, no, she's from New Hampshire. Hilarious, because when she was telling the girls, hey, I'm from New Hampshire, and they'd be like, where's that? And these are women who live in the United States or born and raised in the United States. One of them, Melanie, is from Philly, and she dead ass looked Kata in the face when she said she was from New Hampshire, and she's like, where's that? I guess I found it more acceptable from the Georgia girls, from Kenzie and from Anaya. And I don't know why that should be, because this is basic. This isn't even a geography test. I'm not asking you to point to New Hampshire on a map per se, but I feel like you should have a general idea of where states are, Yeah? No? Okay. Know that Arizona's in the southwest of the country, give or take. Anyway, really funny, but cute people, really, really attractive crowd. I noticed that there were two Islanders, Sincere and Sean, two guys who, in my opinion, look a crazy amount alike. Is it just me? Am I crazy? They are like twins. I'm casting didn't see anything odd about casting two sort of mixed race appearing guys. You can see, okay, so here's Sean, okay, and then I'm gonna show you Sincere, right? Right? I mean, Sean's eyes are a slightly different shape. They're more upturned in the corners. Yeah, there's differences. Don't get me wrong, and they have a totally different hairstyle. But there's something so similar about them that I just found striking in terms of, okay, all right, I guess we're just gonna have cast members that resemble each other a lot. And even when it came to Melanie and Kata, I was kind of surprised by how, in my opinion, similar they look. And there's nothing wrong with it. I guess if I were casting the show, my goal would be to pick people who all look so distinctly different. I feel like in terms of general features, hair color, eye color, skin color, stuff like that, Kata, Beatriz, and Melanie look strikingly similar. And forgive me, this is my first season watching, so if this is how it's normally the cast usually is, then sure. Okay, that's the cast. Lovely people. Some of them are working in serious careers. I think Sincere is a professor. Sean was a police officer, and that was cool. One of the things I want to say right from the top, there's going to be spoilers for all of the shows I mentioned. So if you are not caught up on Love Island, Real Housewives of Rhode Island, or the Summer House up to episode 2 of the reunion, then now is your time to just hit pause, come back to this when you're caught up, and check out some of the other episodes. Until then. So Sean was a police officer. Sincere, I believe, is a professor. You could correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think that he does something in education. And honestly, one thing that's very interesting is that when Sincere speaks in his OTFs or whatever you want to call them, confessionals is what I call them because I'm of the MTV reality TV generation. So yeah, when Sincere's in his confessionals, and sometimes even when he's talking to his castmates, he uses a more diverse vocabulary. It's just something I noticed. I'm not trying to put anybody down. I'm just saying a lot of the Islanders do not speak the way Sincere does. And I don't know what that is about. Maybe he was just raised by a mama who made him read a lot of books, but it's something I noticed. I thought maybe is it because he's one of the older ones? But I don't think that's it. I think it's because of his education and what he does for a living. But anyway, small, subtle things I noticed about them. Okay, other cast members. Our girl, Anaya, she's from Georgia. She's from Tyrone, Georgia, to be exact, which is south of the perimeter. And her dad was an NFL player. She didn't say his name. I'm sure that's easily Googleable, but Listen, she's giving brick house like somebody whose dad does have crazy quads, like crazy lower body strength. She looks amazing. I mean, the body is banging. The face is beautiful. I love her hair, skin tone. The girl's got it going on. I will say though, as far as her appearance into the subsequent episodes, I was wondering if they provide them with the makeup in that glam room, or were they able to bring their own makeup and stuff, like to keep with the styling and the hairstyling? Because our girl Anaya's foundation is looking off. And I know a lot of that is lighting sometimes, that lighting that works for someone like Kenzie is not going to work as well for someone like Anaya. But this is a very high cost production, so I'm not gonna blame the lighting. I think that there's something off about that. What I think happens is that she got more tan being on the island, being out in the sun all day, even with sunscreen. You know, we're gonna tan, black girls tan, and maybe what the foundation that she started out with, not what the foundation Jones Road, like I misspoke, but maybe the foundation that she started out with is too light now, could now that she's been sun-kissed, because I noticed, like, several times, and it's distracting to me because, I'm a makeup girly. It was distracting to me that she looked really gray and kinda washed out in her appearance. But to start, and on her Instagram, homegirl is fire, she's beautiful, and I'm glad actually with her coupling, but we'll get more into the couples later. We've got Melanie, who I mentioned. She tells us that she's from Philly 1,000 times. That's how I remember that. Did we go over Kenzie? Kenzie from Kennesaw, Georgia. I was like, oh, we got 2 Georgia peaches. They were very excited to learn that they were both from Georgia. Kenzie has a bubbly personality. She's a competitive dancer, and she just finished, I think she said she just graduated nursing school, which I'm like, good for you. And she's a fantastic dancer, and she will later on treat us to some of her moves, which I'm not gonna lie, the girl is great. I don't know if she plans to continue to pursue a career in dancing, but I'm certain that her appearance on Love Island and raising her profile in this way is not gonna hurt if she wants to pursue a career in entertainment. I'm gonna share a funny observation about my girl Kenzie. She's beautiful, beautiful. However, I don't know if she knows that she's got crazy eyes. The way that her eyes sometimes bug out of her head when she is in full 32 teeth smile, and she's like nodding emphatically and talking to somebody, and or they tell her, they compliment her on her eyes. I noticed this happened a lot. The guys, when they're talking to her and they would compliment her on her eyes, they would just pop out of her face like this. It was a lot. It was a lot. And I was just like, beautiful girl. I don't know why she does that, but I was like, I wonder if anyone's ever told her that, like, you kind of give crazy eyes. They're beautiful. When someone tells you you have beautiful eyes, you don't have to respond by going, do I really? Oh. Oh my gosh, but sweet girl. We'll get more into her when we talk about the couples. And then we have Beatriz. She is a Paralympian. I think she said a bronze medalist for track and field. She was born with a rare birth defect that resulted in her not having development of the entirety of her lower leg. So she's been on a right leg prosthesis her entire life, but that has not stopped her from being an athletic badass and medaling in the Paralympics. So kudos to her. And then we have Trinity. Trinity is one of the younger cast members. They're all young. I don't think anyone's over 30, but Trinity is on the younger side. I remember there being a point that they made about her quitting her job at a hardware store to come to Love Island. And, there was a time in reality television where that would have just been such a judged decision. It would have been such big news. It would have made her look like such a weirdo and a thirst bucket. And people would be like, why would you quit your job, babe? You need to have a job to go back to. But a couple of things. One, it doesn't sound like hardware sales was her boo. It doesn't sound like that's where her passion and her future career was. And two, reality TV has become such that if you have a memorable stint on reality television, you can take that run and turn it into a really successful career influencing. That's the world we live in. So yeah, she quit her job to join Love Island. Okay, and then other boys I didn't cover. Casey is from Fresno, California. That's what Google told me. Don't yell at me if it's wrong. It's so funny with Fresno. Whenever I hear Fresno, all I think about is homegirl from Girlfriends. What was her name? You remember that show, Girlfriends? It was produced by Kelsey Grammer. Anyway, if you are of a certain age, you wouldn't remember it. But yeah, she used to talk about how much she did not want to ever have to move home to Fresno, California, and she had a never going back to Fresno fund. Like, so I guess in my head, I had a prejudice against Fresno since that show, that it is this downtrodden place. I know nothing about it. I've never been. And then we have Bryce, who's also from California. I believe he's from LA though. And he's a model, like a working model. He said his very first job was doing a Calvin Klein ad. I don't think he's a runway guy. He's very attractive, tall. All the guys are tall. I covered Sincere a little bit, and Sean, the cop, the one who has a, I think, 2-year-old child. And then there's Zach. Zach is from England, and the memorable thing about him is that his brother was on last year on Love Island. So I guess they figured that his brother did okay. He give his younger brother, I think, a shot at the dating show. Interesting. He's of a Greek background, and he's got this like very thick curly black hair. It's like a curly little hair helmet. He's very cute. I would have guessed actually like Arab background, but he's Greek. From England, Birmingham to be precise. Last but not least is Gabriel. Gabriel is from Brazil. He's the second bombshell that arrives with Kada. Kada, remember, is our girl from New Hampshire. And Gabriel, I don't remember what he does for a living, but he speaks Portuguese and Spanish and English, obviously. And he's a sensation when he arrives. He kind of looks like and is a self-described bad boy, for what that's worth. Ariana Madix is hosting and she's doing a great job. She's very dramatic. Like when she shows up, they're like, oh my God. Yeah, everybody's like, going crazy. And she usually has on great outfits and looks amazing. Revenge body is tea. And I think my first impressions of the show is that I am struck by how much kissing of strangers is going on. It's interesting. It's very interesting because, as a doctor, I think about germs, especially germs that can be transmitted orally. I think about herpes as a thing all the time, like 70% of our population has the virus that causes cold sores anyway. If you're one of those lucky 20-30% and you don't have it, like, ew, that you can come on this show and totally be given the gift that keeps on giving. Because these people kiss each other with abandon. And then the other thing is they kiss each other right after the other one's kissed. So they're just like lining up and just trading spit, and just like 6 people, they might as well all just be simultaneously kissing. You know how it is. If you're listening to this, you know what it's like. And I'm not gonna lie, that skeeves me. It skeeves me, and it will never not be gross to me because blech. So I do find myself, a little 2xing on the super kissy parts because gross. I'm here for like the relationships, the development of relationships between the couples and the guys in the house and the girls in the house. That's what I'm most interested in. I say house very loosely. This is such an open living space. It doesn't feel like a house at all. It feels like the only enclosed space is their sleeping quarters and their glam room slash, bathroom for the guys. Because every other space that they're in, every other like living room type sitting area, kitchen, everything is just like open air. Like it's open to this massive courtyard. And I get they're in Fiji, they're in paradise, but that would just be annoying to me. I like having shelter. I like having a roof over my head. That's something I observed earlier. I was like, do they have any more enclosed spaces, or is everything just like wide open? And then what happens when it rains? I'm sure they don't film on days when it rains, but then where do they go? Anyway, so yeah, tons of spit being swapped back and forth and back. And I guess you just got to be of an age where that just doesn't bug you and you don't find that gross. So more power to them. Hope nobody gets the herp. So their first night there, they get right to work. And what we end up with is initial couples, as you see. And so we have Sincere and Melanie. Okay. We have Beatrice and Sean, Trinity and Bryce, and Crazy Eyes Kenzie and Zach. And then we also end up with Casey and Anaya. Some of these couples won't make it past episode 2 because when they introduce the Bombshells, Kada and Gabrielle, that shakes things up. We end up losing Beatrice and Sean, and Zach is quick to dump Kenzie. Like day 1, Zach tells Kenzie that she's not his type. And when I tell you that fooled with Kenzie's soul for days until somebody came along and was like, I think you're beautiful. You are my type. Literally, it was like she had a wound that needed healing. And again, sociology of these shows, I thought that was so fascinating. I think she's beautiful and I think she's got a great body, like I said, talented, clearly smart enough to graduate a nursing program. But I guess to me, and beauty is in the eye of the beholder, it's very subjective, but there are people who are like beautiful, and then there are people who are like, no one is questioning the beauty of this human. No one is looking at this human and going, I don't see what's so special, or virtually no one. Kenzie does not fall in that category for me of such stunning, unquestionable beauty that it makes no sense that a man could look at her and look her in the eyes and say, you're not really my type. I was surprised to hear that from Zach because I do find it's not uncommon for guys who are brunettes or naturally have dark hair to be attracted to blondes. It's just a thing. But yeah, she was so butthurt when he said that to her. And then when it came to their first opportunity to go red or green on their partner, Zach pieced out. Zach was like, I'm going red. Kenzie was on green. It was a sad moment. I'm not going to lie. I felt bad for her. But I think she blew it out of proportion, though, I will say. Because then she carries this grudge on like through episode 5, like all the way through. So what ends up happening is that Zach wants to pair off with one of the bombshells that arrives, Kata. He and Bryce are both people who stepped on red and kind of decided they want to explore outside of their current couple. And lucky for Trinity, she also stepped on red and decided she wanted to explore outside her couple. More on that in a second. But so Bryce ends up coming back with Kata. He ends up kind of winning Kata over. I guess she chooses him over Bryce. And he likes her a lot. And apparently she falls more in line with the type of woman that he's used to dating. Great. So, but when he gets back to the villa, Kenzie's so mad at him. He even tries to approach her and say, hey, can we talk about this for a little bit? She's like, no, no. She brushes him off not once, but twice. And Trinity gives Zach some good advice, which I agree with. It's that, like, if she wants to be that stubborn about reconciling with you, don't bother anymore. And her petty does not stop. And I get it because I can be a petty queen myself, but I do think that her level of hurt is interesting. I can't pinpoint what it reveals about her exactly, but it definitely reveals a certain level of like, huh, you really thought you were just the bee's absolute knees. And it's great to have self-esteem, not when your self-esteem is dependent on being affirmed by a man, not when it can be taken down so easily by any kind of rejection. Nobody likes rejection. Other people reject it in the show, but she was taken out the most by it. There's something there to explain, like, how butthurt she was because other people who rejected in the first couple of episodes, we have Sean, who was happily paired up with Beatrice, and they seem to really be getting along really well. Like, so with Zach and Kenzie, there was not a lot of chemistry, and you could see he just wasn't that into her. But with Beatrice and Sean, they were vibing. I thought, okay, they look pretty happy. And then when she decided to not stick with him and to go red on step on red and try to meet, I guess, take her chances with the bombshell, I was surprised, and I know Sean was surprised. He definitely was taken aback because of the vibes. I feel like the difference between Kenzie and Sean is that the disappointment that Sean felt about being rejected by Beatrice was not because he's like, but I'm me, I'm Sean, I'm so beautiful. How could somebody not be into me? Like, what do you mean I'm not your type? I think his disappointment was that there was no indication between them when they were talking that she was still wanting to explore other connections and that she wasn't interested in, at least for the time being, exclusively pursuing their connection. I think there was like a miscommunication between them about how they're going to play this game. Beatrice is a competitor after all. She's an athlete. I get the impression that, she does what she needs to do to win. And I think for her, competitiveness in this was, let me keep exploring other connections and not put all my eggs in one basket. And I can't disagree with that. But I also like Sean. So, I felt bad for him. And then another point Beatrice made that I thought was really valid and cannot be dismissed is that she doesn't necessarily want to date someone who has children. It's a thing, When I was single, it definitely would not have been a plus for me to, even if I met a great guy. I just don't know that I was stepmom material or dealing with if the relationship with the mother of the child is not great. I don't know that I have the temperament to weather that kind of storm. So I don't judge someone for bowing out of that and just never getting involved in that way. I think it's actually a better idea for someone to be more like that and say, you know what, it's not for me. That is not my shtick, than to get into such a relationship and mistreat the child, mistreat the person, or whatever. But yeah, it counted against him as far as she's concerned. And then I guess just their initial chemistry. And I think as far as strategy as well, she wanted to keep exploring. But interestingly, as soon as she got with Gabrielle, her wanderlust kind of went away. So I think it was definitely attraction, chemistry, and the kid for sure, more than gamesmanship. Okay. And then other couple shakeups. So Bryce and Trinity both did not, I guess, feel 100% spark when they were together. So they both decided to explore other connections. And lo and behold, for them, they ended up back together, which was cool. Neither of them really cared for the Bombshells that much, which is so cute. And it kind of affirmed that they really should just keep exploring their connection. So I thought that was really cute. And what I like about Trinity is she's transparent. What she wasn't feeling about Bryce, she was very straightforward and transparent about. She didn't feel like they were going deep. Their conversations were on surface and stuff like that. And she told him that, and I don't get the impression that Trinity has dated a ton of white guys before, but I also don't get the impression that she's intimidated by the fact that he's white. I think she's taking it one day, date, moment at a time to judge. And by the time they get to episode 5, they are pretty solid. Because at the end of episode 5, there is a recoupling event with Ariana, and they stick together. And I actually really like them. I think they're cute. I think they're kind of on the same wavelength. He's obviously a working model in Los Angeles. He says he does other things like fixing trucks and does gig jobs to pay the bills, like all models, actors, entertainers do until they hit it big. He had a little bit of shame about that. And I was like, poor baby. But yeah, do what you gotta do, man, until you hit it big, right? But yeah, they both kind of have this very young, curious energy, and they're both just so striking. Like, I think Trinity's face is so cute. And one of my favorite things about her is she's got these little beauty marks on her face. When I was looking at her cast photo, she reminds me of my daughter because my daughter has, I think from the age of 2, she has some very prominent little beauty marks, little moles on her face. And they're kind of like all over like hers, and they're just distinct, very well defined, like almost look fake. Like, did you draw those cute little things on there? So that's what caught my eye about Trinity. And she's got beautiful eyes. She's very doe like. I would say celebrity lookalike for Trinity is Michaela Cole. Part of me is excited to see post-season glow up Trinity with superior styling, hair, makeup. I can't wait to see what that's giving because I just find her stunning. Love to see it. And I'm like, if she and Bryce get together, baby, that's gonna serve model. And any offspring they share will undoubtedly grow up to be a model. Will have the legs, the physique, the face to serve, I think. But let's see, who else? We talked about the couples that split, Kenzie and Zach, and Sean and Beatrice. So Sean and Kenzie, they kind of flounder and struggle to find their footing. They're both just trying to figure out who will they be able to pair with to remain viable on the show, because they say several times, when you're single, you're vulnerable. Okay, so obviously there's going to be an elimination process here. It stinks because, I mean, who would want to be in that position? And I think for Sean, he didn't wallow so much in the why of it with Beatrice. They had a conversation. He kind of accepted her rationale that she was more focused on the gamesmanship. It was night 1. She didn't want to get bogged down with just one person, put all her eggs in one basket. And I thought he was pretty gracious about that. He was very understanding and willing to accept her explanation and not hold a grudge. So they decide, you know what, for the sake of survival, why don't we see if there's anything here between us? So they start hanging out, canoodling, and sleeping in the bed together. Great. All that is going okay, but Sean expresses more than once that at face value, Trinity or Anaya would more so be his like physical type that he would date in the outside world. So it makes me wonder, okay, is he about to try and make a move on them or what? They play a couple of games where they're allowed to, do that thing where they kiss everybody. And you could see that there was one point when Sean was kissing Trinity. I was like, well, he's really into it. He's really into it. And I actually thought there may have been a moment where Trinity felt it too. I don't know. Maybe he has horrible breath. I mean, do they screen for that kind of thing? I don't know. But for whatever reason, our dear Sean could not couple up before the recoupling with Ariana. Before the recoupling happens, though, we are introduced to a third bombshell. His name is Corbin, and he's pretty cute. He's very tall. Apparently, he's 6'5". He's muscular. He has a very athletic build and a very attractive face, great smile, decent personal style. I have to say, the only thing that I find that, like, in real life would have made me be like, "I'm good, I'm gonna stick with whoever I have," is the way that he talks makes him sound dumb. I'm sorry. It makes him sound unintelligent. I don't think he is unintelligent, but he has this almost it's like a blend between, like, surfer boy and stoner way of speaking, and he also has a very deep voice, which is nice. You would think, "Oh, that's so nice." My husband has a deep baritone that we constantly get stopped in the streets for. If you've heard a podcast episode with him, then you know what I'm talking about, but it's not as deep as that, Corbin's voice, but it is a deep register, and it's almost like it's his cadence of speaking that just makes him sound kinda sleepy and like, "I don't know," and "I like you," and it's just a really boring way of speaking that he has that makes me question his intelligence, but he doesn't say unintelligent things per se. He just sounds very drony, and I think talking to him could possibly be annoying to listen to, but maybe it's just my ears. That's why they say there's a lid for every pot. Not everybody is for everybody. Some people would look at him and that's all that would matter. But I'm a weirdo who also needs to like the way you sound. So Corbin comes and unsettles everybody. In fact, importantly, he unsettles Melanie. She was all upset with Sincere because he was keeping some channels open with some of the other girls, talking to Beatriz, not Beatriz, talking to Kada a little bit, and just not closing himself off under the impression that they had agreed that they would be open to exploration. Lies. Melanie is not open. She wants Sincere all to herself. But I found this a little hypocritical. As soon as Corbin shows up, Melanie is all up in his face, like pulls him immediately for a chat, flirt, 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 and kind of throws herself at him. And that was a turnoff even for some of the other girls because Beatrice pointed out, she said, whenever a bombshell shows up, we should definitely push Kenzie to go first with that person to try and maybe establish a connection because she was kind of looking at it like Kenzie's single and doesn't want her to get eliminated. So they're all pretty good in their couples. Why would they get in the way of Kenzie potentially making a connection quickly and easily with someone, right? That might save her from elimination. So I thought that was thoughtful. It's nobody's job, I guess, to save anyone. But I guess if you call yourself my friend on the show and these people are so quick to, this is my friend, this is my girl, I love her, for people they've known for 48 hours. But ultimately, I thought it was a kind gesture. Melanie's overzealousness got in the way of that, and the girls had a little static about it. Maybe I didn't know what was gonna happen with that static because there was a moment, but Melanie decided to walk away after she had made her point because there was a point where Beatrice was beating a dead horse, and we understood what you were saying. Melanie apologized, move on. Melanie decided to walk away from the conflict, and you know what happens for some people, this happens to me sometimes when you are really angry in a situation, you may by no control of your own, actually start crying, which looks crazy. The extremes of emotion when you go from being so angry or pissed or almost like borderline violent to all of a sudden you're like sobbing. Yeah, it looks crazy, I know, but I get it because there's so much emotion welling up with that anger and it doesn't have an outlet. So I think that sometimes it just comes out in tears. So she's in tears. But the crazy part is, guess who she goes to cry to? After she talks to the girl, she goes to cry to Sincere, and I need you to be my friend right now and listen to me. And I just felt like a moment I felt Sincere's point of view on this, which is like, I'm not your friend. I'm the person you were romantically linked with. And that inherently makes us friends on a level. But when you use the friend word, like that could be unsettling, right? To the man who just watched you run off into a corner with new guy a little bit too enthusiastically. I think for Sincere, it wasn't that she decided to entertain Corbin because that would be hypocritical. So I don't think he was doing that. I think it's that she popped up before the other girls were even done with their initial chit chat. She popped up out of her seat and would like beeline to pull him. And I think he found that unsettling. And also, of course, it happened right in front of him. It's not, you know, that's probably equally as important is that he had to actually witness it. So anyway, turns out then, okay, next Kenzie talks to the bombshell and they kind of hit it off. Bombshell Corbin is like, Kenzie, you're my type. I guess that's the type he usually dates. And for Kenzie, that is it. That's all she needed to hear to be like heart eyes for Corbin. Mind you, she was forging a decent connection with Sean, who was treating her very nice. I mean, very kind, very sweet. Maybe, the sparks just weren't there yet, but he was making her really nice breakfasts. And I don't know, the weight of my heart, you want to make me a breakfast, the conversation's going to continue. You know what I'm saying? I love food. So, yeah, but Kenzie immediately, you could see googly eyes. She is all about Corbin and good for her. So that connection is really strong. And of course, that connection being really strong puts Sean back in a tough spot. So there's a couple of little shakeups as well with the other couples. Like Kenzie is now also flirting with entertaining Gabrielle, which was surprising to me because his connection with Beatrice was so strong. But again, Kenzie is here to win. She's like, I'm going to find somebody. This is not possible. I'm going to find somebody who's interested in me and my crazy eyes. And she's a very nice girl. I think what really pushed her over the edge with all the guys, honestly, was her dance performance when they had that little office party game thing they were doing. Yeah, the splits, the bouncing on a split with your cakes all the way up in the air. I feel like that's going to do it for the majority of crowds. So yeah, Gabrielle was into it. They kissed. I mean, she shared some steamy moments with some of the guys and it kind of raised her stock price, not to be too crude, but yeah, all of a sudden, Kenzie now is looking at potentially pairing up with Sean, Corbin, and she could possibly pull off a steal with Gabrielle. I like Gabrielle and Beatrice together because they have a similar background. They're both Spanish speaking. They like that about each other. I'm not saying that Spanish speaking people all belong together, but they really find comfort in the ethnic and cultural similarities they have. He's Brazilian, and I believe is she of a Mexican descent? I can't recall. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but either way, they seem to really connect on that level. And so I like them together, but Gabrielle has more than a passing interest in Kenzie, right? So then they go into the recoupling with Ariana at the end of episode 5, and some folks are feeling great and secure, like Casey and Anaya. They have this lovely, lovely conversation where I mean, this is not something you see that often, which is why it stood out to me. Casey really affirmed her. And I know that I'm not saying she as a person needed to be validated, but he really affirmed and validated her in the relationship. Like he let it all out. He told her that he was really attracted to her, that she was his type. He explained that that his whole family looks like her and the women that he dates look like her. And I don't know, it just was so heartwarming because it's honestly not something you see for Black women on dating shows where they are outright affirmed, even by Black men on these shows. A lot of the Black men that appear on these shows are kind of international lovers. And when they have a chance to dabble with women of other persuasions, I find, and y'all can disagree, but I find that a lot of men on these shows, even on Love is Blind, Black men that come on, are not really looking to couple with Black women. And the reverse can be true as well. But it was nice to have Casey get a moment to tell Anaya, I know that we didn't pair right away, right from jump. They were together by the end of episode 1, but I think he went out of his way to let her know, you're not just a default choice because we both ended up single at the right time, that he's really into her, attracted to her. And although he's kind of reserved in the beginning, he's warmed up a lot. And it was so touching. You could see she was visibly touched by that. And I think it pulled a lever in her toward him and knowing, okay, he's not just with me because he can't pull anyone else or there's no one else that he could couple with. He's with me because he's actually into me. And what girl doesn't want to know that? Kenzie desperately wanted that. That's why she was so heart's eyes for Corbin the minute he said that. I every girl wants to hear that. And it was just nice to see the for lack of a better description, not ethnically or racially ambiguous Black girl being affirmed as an object of desire, as an object of affection and beauty. And yeah, cheers to Casey for that. I hope you don't screw this up. I just gave you a really nice compliment. And generally speaking, I do find it dangerous to compliment men on reality television because they often disappoint. But I really did think that Casey deserved his flowers for doing something so nice for my sister Anaya from Tyrone, Georgia. A stone's throw, no, about an hour from where we live. But anyway, Georgia girl nonetheless, right? So I'm rooting for her. I'm rooting for them together as a couple. So we get to the recoupling and everybody goes through, and it's really nice because there's a sort of tell me who you pick, and then the person you chose gets to say how that made them feel. So we get to really hear the inner thoughts that I don't think we get to see expressed in between all the makeout sessions about what they like in their partner and why they're choosing them. And pretty much everyone sticks to their partners. Now, the only wild card is that Corbin is told ahead of time that he's going to actually get to choose first because he's at a disadvantage, being that he's only been in the villa like less than 24 hours. So Corbin starts with his choosing, and who does he pick? Kenzie. Immediately, I'm scared for Sean. Like, dang, that sucks. Because who else is he going to pair with unless someone else in the couples that exist goes rogue? Sean's not going to have anybody. And that's exactly how it turns out. Don't want to belabor the point. Everybody goes through and says really lovely things about their partners. Bryce and Trinity have a really cute moment and seem really excited for each other. Gabrielle and Beatrice, their moment is not quite as cute, but whatever. They're together, and that leaves poor Sean uncoupled again. And so I guess according to the rules of the game, that means he has to leave. I know. I know. I was really sad for him because I did not see that coming at all. Did you? I had not watched the series before in depth. I've seen clips and, participated in like laughing at things in clips and stuff like that, but I've never watched the start to finish of the series. So I wasn't sure what the rules were. Like, okay, at the end of every day, if you're single, you're out. But so I think I had gotten accustomed to them kind of letting Sean recycle being uncoupled. So I was like a little stunned when she's like, and you're going to be dumped from the villa. And I was like, ah! So anyway, Sean had his farewell montage. Kenzie spoke to him. I guess she was the closest thing he had to a couple in the villa. And they had a moment and he peaced out. And everybody went back to their lives. And I guess we will see, because the previews for the upcoming episodes show that they're in for some more shakeups because more bombshells are coming. There are by the end of episode 5, I think let me rank them in terms of strength of couples. Okay. So I think the strongest couple by the end of episode 5, I really think that Casey and Anaya are the strongest because those are the two who have had the least interest in exploration on both sides. And then after, I want to vote for Melanie and Sincere, but she's an insecure person. And I think she said it herself, but I can comfortably say this. She does a little bit of self-sabotaging. And I think trying to secure Sincere's affection and make him jealous, I don't know what she's trying to do. I think she's going to overplay her hand a little bit, trying to seek the attention of some of the other guys that I don't even think she's really interested in. I think she really likes Sincere. I think she just wants to know deep down that he wants her and only her. So we'll see about them. And the next strongest couple, shockingly, I'm calling Bryce and Trinity. I didn't think they were that strong, but after this recoupling, I actually think like, wow, it doesn't look like either of them is really interested in exploring for now, and they may have a shot at this. After Bryce and Trinity, then I would rank Gabrielle and Beatrice, and then I would rank Kenzie and Corbin, and dead last, I'm going to rank Melanie and Sincere just because of Melanie's behavior of late, showing that there may just be a personality mismatch or something, like that initial exploration he did, just entertaining Kata. That's the only thing he did, guys. He did not step on red on her. He did not go off to canoodle all night with a bombshell on her. He had an opportunity to speak to Kata when she first came to the villa, and he took it, and that was enough to kind of send Melanie into a tailspin. So I'm making a prediction that I don't think they're going to last just because she doesn't seem like she's able to handle the intensity when other women get involved. That's just my take. All right. So that's Love Island. I haven't watched episode 6. It started, but I didn't get through it. It's like challenging to keep up with these, but also, that means you always have something to watch. There's a new episode every day. On to the Summer House Reunion. Okay. Summer House Reunion parts 1 and 2. Briefly. Crazy pants. Okay. I want to say a few things. I don't want to go through it like beat by beat, and I'll probably give a more thorough discussion once I've seen part 3 because I see where this is headed. So, thing number 1, everybody looks amazing. I don't know how to say this any other way except I think Amanda did not work with like a crisis publicist. It seems that she's just doing whatever the heck she feels like, and I guess more power to her. But if I were her brand manager or someone whose fortunes were in any way tied to hers, I would be like dying over her performance on these first 2 episodes simply because she is not presenting as a sympathetic character. She rolled up immediately combative, immediately like, well, it is what it is. We're together. That's what's up. And then so focused on timeline, and trying to prove something about when she and Wes actually got together and then when they actually got sexual, and like that's so important to her. And I think she's completely missing the point that it's not the timeline that is messing with these people, although your timeline is questionable AF. Like, everybody has a lot of reason to doubt your purported timeline. That's not it. It's literally just the fact that in all of New York, and I think she's from New Jersey, in all of the tri state area, let's say, you had to go for the guy that deeply hurt your so-called best friend, the one you would kill for. Remember her remarks at the end of one of the last confessionals of the finale was that she would kill for Sierra. Sierra is just the most beautiful, amazing creature person she loves so much. She would kill for her anybody who hurt her, and she would kill West if he tried to hurt her. And fast forward to now, that looks so psychotic. Like, how do you go from that deep feeling for someone, that deep of an emotion for your friend, to actually, I don't actually care. I'm going through my own stuff right now, and I'm hurt enough that I don't care about your feelings, friend of mine. One of the other things that made that very trippy was that in the city, if you're watching that, there was a scene in last week's episode where West and Sierra rolled up to meet up with Amanda to grab a bite and catch up on things. And it was just like awkward city because I was like, it's inevitable. You're questioning in your head, this was the fall. Was something already brewing between her and Wes? So it's just like her timeline is not going to save her. I don't care what you say. Your timeline's questionable. And so all you need to do is come with an understanding that these people's grievance is that you got with him at all. So let's focus on the why West part of it. It's all I think that could exonerate her at this point. I think if she were to look at her friends and say from her heart something akin to, I was just broken and in a very vulnerable space. West was there for me, and I didn't feel like she's expressed over and over again in the show. She didn't think she could do better than Kyle. She didn't know if anybody else would be interested in her. She's clearly someone who suffers from low self esteem. From where I'm sitting, it looks like she went for West because he was right there and expressing interest in her because he's a dog and he's just going to want to jump on whatever's living and breathing and willing in his vicinity. So he kind of took advantage of the fact that she was probably quite vulnerable emotionally. And yeah, and so besides the betrayal of Sierra on her part, knowing how Sierra feels about this guy and their history, and the fact that Sierra revealed to her the pain of the history between she and West it's doubled by the fact that they were an interracial couple and received a lot of scrutiny online. That's what I think makes people all the more puzzled about why she would choose to do this. I think if she just came from a more earnest place of like, I was deep in pain and he was in close proximity, and you guys know that I struggle with self esteem. And that's how this happened because I didn't maybe believe that I could go out there and get on that dating market, but I wanted someone to comfort me now. So here we are. It still wouldn't make it great, but I guess it would make it more sympathetic, is all I'm saying. Like if I was like her publicist, I'd be like, we're going for sympathy here. You need to patch this up with a little sympathy. And then from the West standpoint, he's just sitting there saying nothing. That's what's crazy. That man is not talking. He is taking that usual little sheepish, like, oh, I screwed up and I'm just a boy. Oh, I don't know. I'm just a boy energy and not speaking up at all for his woman. And it's crazy. It's irritating. And at some point, Amanda storms off the stage, part 2 of the reunion, And they're like, go after your woman, West. And he like barely moves. Then he finally gets up to go when they're like, this is weird. Go after your woman. Then he comes back without her. He's like, she's fine. She's coming out. She's coming out. Everyone's waiting for Amanda to come out still. They're going over other packages and trying to fill the space until she comes back out because, like, she's pretty central to this reunion. And it takes so long, and Wes is so disconnected from what seems to be going on with her that at some point, Kyle even feels compelled to get up and go check on Amanda, which is just another awkward thing. I mean, it's clear that Kyle is happy to be out of the marriage. I don't think anybody's going to argue with that. He does not want to still be married to Amanda Batula, but he seems to still feel some level of responsibility for her mental well being, which is admirable because I think Kyle understands that although what Amanda and Wes did is kind of overshadowing how crappy he was to her all summer, it doesn't erase what he did in his part in the marriage, his contribution to the failure of their marriage. So I can say that Kyle is becoming more and more of a fave for me in this journey only because he's not shying away from responsibility the way he normally seems to when confronted with wrongdoing. It's like he's done some work, he's done some deep like introspection or something. I don't know, but he seems so different and dare I say, maybe seems to have been working with a crisis publicist who has helped him figure out how to position himself in the middle of this to come out on top, right? Because I heard Loverboy sales are up and he doesn't seem to be so stressed out about finances anymore. He's getting campaigns, brand deals. He's just doing really well. And yeah, so, but Amanda and Wes really are failing at, I think, capturing any sympathy from maybe the moderates in the world who were maybe not Team Sierra and wanted to hear from them and make a final choice. I don't think their behavior is necessarily swinging those people over to Team Sierra, but I do think that they are not gaining support the way they're acting. So one of the criticisms I did hear after part one was that Sierra was going too hard, that she was a little bit too snippy, jumpy. I think she did fantastic. I think she did great. I think she is not blowing up and just showing up like angry and yelling and cursing. Her emotions are very controlled, but she's got some stuff to say. She's going to get it off her chest. And she's very sharp in her responses. She's very witty. I don't think I knew that she was that sharp and witty, but she is a Capricorn, I think. So, you know. But yeah, I think she's been coming back with the one-liners. She's very prepared. She's very focused. She and Lindsay are laser focused on getting their points across and saying what they need to say. My only hope, however, after this reunion is all tucked away, is that Sierra never speaks of West again, that she never mentions his tubby name ever again, that she never speaks of Amanda again. Like if someone comes up to her on a red carpet and brings it up, that she just has an eloquent, prepackaged answer to say that I have moved on. I said what I had to say at the reunion. I got it off my chest and I've moved on. In fact, I hope she like puts that on threads once the third part airs, that she's like, and that is all, and that is it. You're never going to get me to talk about those losers again. That would be my stance. I would get my vengeance like she did. I would verbally eviscerate them. I would say what I needed to say. I would call them snakes and liars and all the things that she's doing because they are. I mean, at the end of the day, these are supposed to be your friends. Like, girl code, friend code was violated on multiple levels here for both her and Kyle. And I would say what I needed to say. I would come in looking my best and yeah, like she said, bury them. I hope she does. I hope she puts that last shovel of dirt over that friendship and moves on completely and never speaks to them again. She's getting brand deal after brand deal, endorsement. She's in Shabuzi's music video. She got that Glamour magazine interview. She's got so many good looks. Oh, she's doing Love Island After Sun. She is on a trajectory that, yeah, I would never speak of those toads again. I would just take this opportunity to network as broadly as I can, be as broadly appealing as I can to brands, keep my nose squeaky clean, and level up on managerial and publicist staff to make sure that the sharks that I'm able to hire now with all this new income are able to keep me here. Because what I worry about with Sierra is like once this is done airing and all the buzz has died down and people's obsession with West and Amanda goes away, that her brand deals are going to dry up because understand prior to this scandal, She didn't have 1 million followers. Amanda did, and I'm not sure why, to be honest with you. The girl has, like, the personality of a saltine. I don't understand it, but big boobs, thin, I don't know. Anyway, but Sierra was maybe somewhere in the 700,000s, which is not small change. Not claiming that. I'm just saying comparatively, she was not at 1 million followers. The groundswell of support that has resulted from this betrayal has launched her to the over million stratosphere. And I want her to stay there by remaining interesting, not leaning on this, but moving on. I mean, I want her to be Ariana Madix, but take it to another level. She has an appeal and a likability, an eloquence, and a beauty that can definitely catapult her, I think, to Hollywood if that's what she really wanted. I mean, she was a model before Summer House, right? And she's a nurse and she's quick. I'm seeing how quick she is on this reunion. And I didn't know she had that quickness in her. I'm thinking some kind of high level hosting, see how she does on After Sun. But I would love to see her do some cameos in TV and film. See where this goes. The point is, I want her to maximize these opportunities, minimize the losers who betrayed you. Once this reunion is done and aired, it's dust. They're dead to you. Never speak of them again. And that way, I think she will remain in the justified corner because, as Black women, we have to be careful. You're just always a stone's throw away from the accusation of being a bitter, angry Black woman. And it's not our fault. It's just in society, Black women are not allowed to have the full breadth of emotion on display like our other counterparts are without some kind of negative attributes being stamped on us. So we have to carry ourselves a little bit differently and with more caution in all facets of society. And so she's got this spotlight on her. I'm glad she has Mia and KJ in her corner, like two very good friends, and that they center her when this is over and help her to move on. Speaking of Mia and KJ, talk about Mia is such an amazing friend and she's a star. She's coming out on top as well in the middle of all this. The added attention, her debut season, she's coming across as that super bestie. And I like that for her. She's beautiful. She's smart. Another person who just possibly limitless potential. Like she and Sierra, I mean, everybody has a podcast, but why can't they have a podcast? I'm just saying they can have a podcast, they can have the most amazing guests, and they can parlay this increased attention into something positive easily with their personality, their looks, their poise, their elegance. It could happen. My boy KJ, what a sweetheart. The internet right now is in love with him. The world sees him as like a baby. They're babying him. Little baby KJ. Oh, KJ, he's so sweet. He is very sweet. He has a sweet energy and a sweet heart. He actually revealed in these episodes that he told us in the season that he struggled with mental health, but he had a breakdown with his mental health and actually had a self-harm attempt in the fall. And that was shocking news. And that he was even transparent about the diagnosis. It sounds like he said he was diagnosed with BPD, which people were saying was bipolar. I think he means borderline personality disorder. I don't know that people in the medical community abbreviate bipolar disorder as BPD, but I could be wrong. I think it's borderline personality disorder. So he was diagnosed with BPD in the fall. He had a mandatory stay in the hospital and then went for treatment. And he said on stage the entire time that Mia and Sierra never left his side. They came to visit him every single day while he was institutionalized and while he was receiving treatment. And that is so beautiful to see that their relationship, how protective they were of him during the season, that's not fake, that's like a real thing. They have genuine affection for him and genuine concern for him as his big sisters. And I hope that relationship continues. I hope it flourishes. Would I watch a show with Mia, KJ, and Sierra? Yes. Yes, I would. Would the rest of America? I don't know. I mean, Martha's Vineyard did not do as well as Summer House. There was some formatting and casting stuff that people call out for the reasons, but all I know is it didn't do as well. And so here we are. But yeah, love their relationship. Hope they continue that. I don't think Sierra's coming back to the summer house. I hope she doesn't. I think she's bigger than that at this point. Mia, I think if she wanted to do maybe one more season to solidify herself as a Bravo celebrity and not just be a one season wonder, that might be her move. Neither Sierra nor Mia or KJ are on In the City. KJ, I think He's obviously well liked, but I do have concerns about his mental stability if the internet were to change their mind about him. You know what I mean? Because no one's perfect. No one can be an internet darling forever. You know, there are very few people who can be like Keanu Reeves. It's just like or Dolly Parton. That just like everybody loves and nobody has anything negative to say about them. And I worry he's so young and he's just been newly diagnosed. He's stabilizing in his life. He has his girlfriend and her support there. Although I had heard that they had unfollowed each other and I never followed up on that. So y'all can update me if you know that they actually broke up. That's terrible. But I liked Dara because she seemed like it seemed like their relationship was healthy. It didn't seem like she was just there to be on camera. Like, it seemed like she really did like him and that she cared about him, and her appearance on stage, Dara literally, like, read Amanda and West in the most classy, matter-of-fact way, and she wasn't trying to be nasty. She was just stating facts about how West is a user, and he's not a good guy, and he treats women like crap, and that at some point he's going to discard Amanda, and Amanda has it in her best interest to get away from him and avoid the heartbreak. And Wes didn't even disagree with Tara. He was like, "Mhm, yep, that's me. Yeah, she's got it in a nutshell." But I digress. My point is regarding KJ, I'm not convinced that reality TV is the best way for him moving forward. Obviously, it's lucrative. There's going to be so many opportunities coming to him. He was already a model. So I hope that he gets even more modeling opportunities. I do see he's going a little ham with the tattoos. I'm not sure what that's about, but he's got a whole bunch more tattoos, some piercings than he did going into the house. That's just a maybe, it's a form of self-expression. I have piercings. I have one little punk tattoo, but I just think he's in a transition is what I'm saying. I don't want the pressure of public life and public scrutiny to add pressure to that already fragile situation with his newly discovered diagnosis. Like maybe he should take a beat, maybe he should take 1 year off and come back. I don't know, but not sure what his situation is, what his career prospects are outside of this. Brand deals and such, social media presence is strong, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know that if he was my son, I would say, "Yep, keep going," because eventually he's gonna do something in front of the camera that turns the audience against him, and then how does he handle that? How does he recover from that? How does he absorb the negativity that is sure to come, you know? Just because the internet's got internet. Okay. I made note that if I was Levi, I would be pissed. Levi got the complete disappearing sidekick treatment. They brought her out for a few seconds to tell her that, I don't know, that she hangs out with Bailey a lot. And then they were like, okay, bye, Levi. Have a nice one. I was like, why would I have wanted to get dressed and put on a gown and come out for that? Who knows? I'm not sure if she'll be back next year, but we'll see. Bailey's moment with Ben, I didn't really care about. I know people made a big to-do about that. I'm glad she was able to get off her chest what she wanted to say about him because I didn't like how Ben spoke to her, and something does happen to his eyes when he's pissed. And I think that does probably lend itself to the possibility of toxic communications with a partner. His issues with his dad are obviously a wound that needs healing. It sounds like he did get some level of healing when he went home with Sabrina. Hopefully, they're continue to work on that and he's continued to work on that himself, his fractured relationship with his dad. But yeah, I didn't think too much of Bailey's moment because her pop off was just it was a lot in the moment. I guess it just caught me by surprise. It was like, wow, oh, okay, we're doing this. And I don't know that it was warranted in the moment. She got to say what she needed to say. Do I think Ben needs to figure out a way to communicate with women that doesn't involve yelling at them? Yes, I do. Especially, I mean, dude, cameras are on you. Why are you like talking down to or being condescending to women? And then that's it. Like Ben's boring. I think if he's back next season, whatever. But do I think he's bringing something so amazing to the table that he's a factor that I want to be like, yeah, get him, Bailey. I'm glad for you that you got him. But Bailey's also weird. And I know she's got whimsy and she's got her little kooky thing going. But her little crush situation on him in the beginning of the season was weird. And there's no other word to describe it. She's a bombshell. She's drop dead gorgeous. She knows it. I mean, come on. She's got curves. She's beautiful. And she was just acting like a complete, like, I don't know. I'm just like a nerd. And I don't know if he would be interested in someone like me. Honestly, I think Ben's lack of interest in her had to do with him being in a relationship with Sabrina. Bailey had her moment, but then I think in my eyes, she took away from her power by refusing to admit that some of her behavior towards Ben and even her comments about Amanda was a little jealousy because she was into him and he was like not giving her the time of day. But yeah, that's just my opinion. I think Bailey is good for reality TV though. I think she should come back next season. But yeah, towards the end of episode 2 of the reunion, the big takeaway is that there is some contact between Mayha, West's girlfriend that he apparently had all last year during the season, I guess, even. And then when he had that appearance on Watch What Happens Live and he wore that horsehair tie that she made. So apparently, Sierra and Meha and Kyle have all been in a threesome trading information and verifying dates. And so they were able to take a break at the end of the episode. And back in Sierra's dressing room, she gets on a FaceTime with Meha, and I'm like, why is Meha not here? Like, I know that, okay, yeah, we can get the facts from her. Maybe she didn't want to appear. Maybe they offered her to come and she didn't want to appear. But like, it would really round out the story for Meha to show up. So that's what I'm looking forward to for next episode, hearing Meha's piece in this and what Wes had to say about the allegations that he was in a full on committed relationship with this girl. If she's saying this, I'm assuming she's got receipts, but Wes is a dog. He's never gonna be anything but a dog, and good for him, is all I can say about that. Okay, moving on. Last but not least, since we are at the penultimate episode for Real Housewives of Rhode Island, I thought I would discuss the interesting points going into the finale from the most recent episode. So, as you all know, my favorite person on that show is Alicia and her obsession with fracas. I just like her. She's light, she's fun, she's whimsical, she's got background that makes her interesting. Her current relationship makes her interesting as well. She's engaged to Billy, the owner of Pizza Mama, and she's worried about her financial future apart from marriage to him. And apparently, in a marriage prenup, he proposed some pretty stringent terms for her. So, I'm interested in Alicia's future moving forward. I want to see how fame changes the story for her because she's definitely famous. But in this most recent episode, we saw Rosie and Kelsey's men try to force them to bury the hatchet, which I think is appropriate because their situation is dumb and nobody cares anymore about their argument. It was funny. Slam pig is a new term that I have just discovered, but we're all ready to move on, Like, okay, enough with this beef. You should actually be best friends, is the truth of it. But for whatever reason, they don't get along. And then other highlights, we visited Audrey's, the little cafe that could. And we got to peek in on Ashley's parents and their insight and their opinions about what Jared is doing for a living. It seems like everybody in Jared's life is like, you could be doing something better than this. Like everybody in Jared's life seems to think that he could be doing better than Audrey's. Jared seems to be on the fence, but leaning ever more in that direction. They were talking about revamping and possibly doing alcohol at Audrey's and whatever to try and, I guess, liven up some of the sales. But the fact of the matter is that I don't think their cafe style is great to begin with. And I think that's maybe why it's struggling. Because when they did that trivia night episode, I was stunned by how massive the cafe actually is. And some people might see that as an advantage, but they brought it up. They brought it up here when they were talking to Ashley's parents that the space is huge. Their lease is coming up. He's deciding whether he should renew. And I'm like, I'm not saying ditch the brand and ditch the coffee shop if you seem to love it so much, but I would definitely try to find a smaller space. You definitely want that street frontage and the windows but I feel like cafes should be smaller, cozier. Even Starbucks doesn't usually have a physical space that large for a reason because I think coffee shops are supposed to have like a kind of local, small, curated vibe that space it just wouldn't allow. And adding alcohol is not, I don't think that's going to change it because I'm like, okay, if you have a liquor license, I guess maybe that's not so hard to get in that part of Rhode Island, but what are the hours gonna be? Do you have permission to be open late as a place where people can grab a drink? Or is this just like, how are we trying to position this? I don't know. My business brain is trying to figure out his problems. And I think the pressure that Ashley's putting on him to focus on content creation, I get it because money, but clearly this is a passion of his. So I feel like everybody should be focused on helping him figure out how to do this successfully. And inevitably, the exposure that Audrey's is getting on Housewives of Rhode Island is going to lead to increased visits. Maybe not the locals, but out of towners are definitely going to start to visit some of these little funny landmarks and go and sit under the tables at Audrey's like the girls did when they were avoiding the argument between Kelsey and Rosie. I mean, I could be wrong, but I feel like everybody's existing business that has appeared on Housewives gets increased traffic. It's like a bit of exposure to your business and a bonus for appearing on the show. So if I were Jared, I would hang on and see what happens with this, postseason traffic before I decide what to do with the lease, but also actively consider finding a smaller space. Just relocate Audrey's and keep going with that name recognition, but new location. That means also lower rent and focus on tightening your menu and curating a specialty of your coffee, maybe like deciding a particular region, maybe that you want to serve coffee from, or a particular style of brewing that you want to focus on. When it comes to a coffee shop, there's like Starbucks and Dunkin' in the Northeast is just everywhere. You gotta pick, I think, in the coffee shop business, an expertise that is going to draw people away from those chains that are so easily accessible and have those reward programs and everything that incentivizes them to keep going. Why am I going to skip out on getting my Starbucks stars and go to Audrey's? I think that's what they need to work on. I spent way too much time on that. Anywho, so that's them. And it's interesting because their dynamic, their marital dynamic, it's concerning to me. I don't make predictions on who's going to be together, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But there's something unsettling about how Ashley seems to feel like it's her responsibility to make sure Jared's happy. She's like, I got to help Jared find out what makes him happy. And it's like, what's going to make Jared happy is Jared. There's something very blah about the way he is around her, his personality in general. I do understand why she feels like he's not happy. My jury is still out about what the source of that unhappiness is, if it's just the business struggles or if there's more to it? He just doesn't seem that into her. I don't want to be mean, but it just like when I see Rosie interacting with Rich or even Gary and Joellen, Jerry and Liz, I see chemistry. I don't see it with Jared and Ashley. Sorry. It's kind of like as much chemistry as Brian and Rula have, which don't even get me started on Rula. So, well, actually, I guess I'll get started on Rula. So we get to a point where she's having some kind of Arabian Nights themed party for the end of summer at her house. Brian seems excited by this idea. Everybody's invited except Joellen. I don't blame her. But the girls are going there and they still haven't told her about the video that exposes Brian as having seen the mistress on the day before that little golf outing that they did. I mean the not golf, the derby, whatever that was, that equestrian event. What the polo match. Oh goodness. So the recording that they saw of Brian took place the day before the polo match that they all attended. Nobody's told Rula yet, but they have discussed it on camera, so they feel a sense of responsibility to let her know, I guess, that that's something that happened. Okay. So that was Alicia's job to do, but she chickened out of doing it at dinner at Rula's house. Rula, to me, strikes me as somebody who doesn't care, guys. I don't know why she doesn't care. We need to leave her alone in her ignorance is bliss mindset at this point. I just think, Joellen, she made it a point to try and let her know, oh, like she's just such a girl's girl. She couldn't possibly, I guess, let Brian get away with pulling the wool over her eyes. But it looks like Rula likes that wool, babe. She likes the wool. And she doesn't want people to keep telling her that her husband is cheating on her because she knows he's cheating on her. I'm not sure what her strategy is, but remember, this is the person who didn't want to talk about the fact that she'd been married before because culturally it was shameful that she was divorced. Okay, that's thing one. Thing two, she's got small kids with him. Maybe she's actually trying to stay with him, and bringing this up repeatedly on camera is making that hard for her. Well, number three, it might be that this is Rula's grand strategy to actually just play dumb, let him continue to screw up on camera, get this all recorded, and then divorce him for infidelity with irrefutable proof under her belt, And I don't know what their prenup situation's looking like. Maybe she really needs to put this kind of effort into getting him and catching him in the act or whatever it is. That's what she's telling Joellen, bring her proof. Who knows? I don't know who Joellen has lurking in the shadows filming these people either, but At the end of the day, there's much more going on than meets the eye when it comes to Rula's repeated denials that anything is going on with her husband. Okay, so we're just gonna let Rula have this. We're just gonna let her have it. We're not gonna bother her about this anymore, I hope. No, no, not a snowball's chance in hell. So they get to the party and Rosie kind of ambushes Rula with Alicia to tell her about this. Brian comes over. He gives the most lukewarm and ridiculous. Well, what's the timestamp on this video? Is the timestamp authentic, buddy? Buddy, this reliance on AI and the fact that it could be all AI generated images and videos. It's got to stop. You got to stop being so sloppy. If you're gonna carry on this way, I don't know what he hopes to accomplish, just immediately calling into question the authenticity of the video. Like, sir, you're not that important, are you? I mean, I don't know. Maybe the mistress is crazy enough to spend a lot of time generating fake videos and photos of their encounters, but his behavior lends itself to a different explanation. But Rula's happy to go along with this for now. You know, that's the bottom line. So we'll see. Preview for next week's finale episode shows that that comes to a bit of a head. That whole Rula looking the other way thing when they have their final get together on the island. What's the name of the island they go to? Yeah, everybody says Block Island 311 times, which leads me to believe that perhaps a condition of filming on Block Island was repeatedly saying Block Island. So they love Block. I love Block. Block Island. Block Island. Block Island. Block, 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 block. Block Island. So Block Island is where they're going for this finale episode to film. And yeah, we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting to see when Joellen and Rula are back in close proximity because they've kind of missed each other a lot since the polo kerfuffle. And, you know, it looks like Brian got arrested at some point for something akin to stalking, like putting tracking devices on Rula's car, which is a crime. And so, yeah, we'll see how this plays out. And it raises a question of why he would do that if he's the one cheating on her, unless he wants to track Rula's car in order to make sure that he knows where she is so he can carry on maybe the opposite side of town. That's the only thing I could think of, but who knows? Who knows what's going on in the relationship? We can only guess. We get tiny bits and pieces. Rula is considered a cast member, and I don't know if she's appeared in every. I mean, she comes up as someone that they're going, "Where's Rula?" But she doesn't appear in every episode, so it's crazy. But anyway, and then on to the ongoing friendship beef within the group between Liz and Joellen. It's so funny because Liz and Joellen were okay. Liz had her doubts about Joellen that she expresses throughout the season, and they do this very interesting and very long montage of times that Liz calls out Joellen's behavior and kind of doubts her sincerity in a lot of ways. But the original argument was between Liz and Alicia, who will probably patch things up, and Joellen intervening on Alicia's behalf will probably be left out in the cold when those two patch it up. Isn't that how it always goes? That essentially, I don't even know why they're beefing. I guess because, well, I know why they're beefing. Liz articulated that because she didn't appreciate that at the dinner the night before, Joellen agreed with her that Alicia was never homeless, right? Joellen agreed with her. And then now they're sitting in the backseat of this car, and Joellen is having Alicia's back in this dispute way more than she's having Liz's back. What I would remind Liz, if she would watch back the tape, is that she was the one being more aggressive toward Alicia, extending her hand across the middle of the car to make her point and getting a little nasty. And Liz she has a demeanor about her that I can't quite explain. But basically, like when she is angry, and you can see when she's livid, she smiles and she smiles hard. And it's like almost unnerving. And it takes a lot to unnerve me. But there's something a little bit unnerving about her angry smile. This is in the throes of an interview, but like she'll look like this when she's telling you off. And the smile gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Dolly. And the smile is just ear to ear and it's getting really hard and it's kind of like unnerving. And yeah, I think that's why Joellen was intervening, because Liz was grinning ear to ear and reached across the car talking to Alicia. And Alicia is harmless. There's no need to be aggressive with her. In that moment, I think Joellen was right. Could she have been more neutral? Sure. Okay. But do I think they should be fighting this hard about it? Absolutely not. That lunch that they went to when Liz just gave her the business and told her off and told her she was such an awful person and left without even ordering anything to eat. Yeah, I don't know what was going on there. What did you come all the way there to do? You didn't even like hear her out. So I think we'll see this come to a head on Block Island. Is it the most interesting conflict to me? No. Do I appreciate that Joellen stands her ground? Absolutely. And that's the only thing that makes this little battle interesting is that we have two women who are not afraid to stand up for themselves in the moment. These are not confessional warriors, in other words. And I like that. I mean, I don't want them to like come to blows or anything like that, but I do appreciate like people who are not unwilling to verbally spar on my reality TV. I don't like women who are going to save it all for confessionals after they've had weeks to think about it and come up with something snappy to say. There's something desperately uninteresting about that. So we'll see. You know, we're setting up for big drama on Block Island. The husbands are going to be there. Rula's going to be there. Joellen's going to be there. Liz is going to be there. And things are going to come to a head. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But it was an entertaining season. It's only, what, I guess 12 episodes? Which is kind of rotten if you think about it. When Beverly Hills got what, like 17 episodes? I guess it's a new city that hasn't proven itself yet, so they maybe limited it. I don't know. Or maybe they just felt like they only had enough material for 11 episodes. Who knows? You know, maybe they filmed more, but it didn't really make for scintillating television. But, they have been renewed, to my understanding. That was revealed, like, a couple weeks ago. They were doing well enough to call that, so that's good. When these ladies have enjoyed a little stardom, how they come back season 2. But before we get into all that, we'll certainly come back here to our reality little roundup corner, and that is enough for one giant episode across several reality shows. So our next reality episode will be focused on these same shows. Love Island gives us plenty to talk about. The Summer House Reunion Part 3 and the season finale of The Real Housewives of Rhode Island. Obviously, they're going to have their reunions as well. So that format will continue for a little while. Upcoming episodes, I'm going to be covering beauty biz, entertainment stuff. So hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Hope you guys enjoy the new format. Please do come back and support the episodes that you really like that are covering the content that you like, because that helps me to improve what I'm doing. Thank you for watching. Please like, follow, subscribe, share the podcast with someone who you think might enjoy this content. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time. Bye.